If you like 8 tips and tricks in Pokémon Yellow, you're in luck, because today we are going to cover 8 tips and tricks in Pokémon Blue. So without further ado, the first tip is a glitch that involves leaving Pewter City without fighting Brock. You'll see there's this youngster here that prevents you from leaving. Make sure your cursor's on save before you approach him and walk out of town. He'll stop you, talk to you briefly. After follow me, what you want to do is open your start menu shortly after. And since it's stuck on save, you can save the game. You will not be able to move your cursor. We will then oddly begin walking back on our own. Just reset the game at this point and reload. Upon loading back in, the guy will start talking to us again, disappear, and then walk back on screen oddly. At this point, keep trying to move right. Eventually you'll make your way onto Route 3, and you successfully bypass the Pewter Gym. So now the next tip requires a certain set of Pokemon. One example of this is the first Pokemon special stat should be 16, this Bulbasaur I have. The second Pokemon should be a Pidgey with a remaining HP of 15. Mine happens to be the maximum, so it works out. Another tip is that there should be no Rattata mini sprite in the first 2 positions or the game will soft lock. The reason why this is important is so we can talk to the youngster from the right. Normally you're not able to when you don't have those certain Pokemon. So upon that, he'll kick a boulder and start to walk away, and we'll follow him oddly. What's nice though is we actually have control of this, and we're kind of like in the middle limbo state of an animation. And when the player is in an animation, they do not have collision with walls. Therefore, we have walk through walls, or like the glitch is called Brock through walls. A good thing to note with this one is that if you let go of the B button, which is what you need to stop your menu from opening, as you saw there, it can sometimes make you walk in a certain direction depending on where the NPC is going. Which can be problematic sometimes, because if you're on the edge of a boundary, you could walk in the wrong direction and go out of bounds. And if you go out of bounds, your game will crash. Now here's something kind of comical with Mount Moon. You can see how oddly short it is. So why not go inside, through the back door? Upon going in, you'll see that we are behind the fossils this time, and we are able to grab them. You want to start first with the Helix fossil, and then move on to the Dome fossil. If you do it in that order and move in that way, you can get both of them without the NPC down there getting in the way. And you can walk away scot-free. The next tip that a lot of you should know involves this youngster here, because we are going to do the Mew Glitch. However, I am not going to be using this youngster. I'm actually going to use somebody else. And of course, now I'm going to walk over to show you where the long-range trainer is you need to use, which most of you should know as well. He's right down here. You're going to need an Abra so you can teleport away. We're going to go to the Cerulean Gym and fight this trainer here. After defeating him, leave the gym and head to the route with the long-range trainer, in this case, Route 24. As a bonus, make note of the police officer dude over there. After that, walk back onto the route, and the start menu will pop open. Just close out of that, and we'll get an encounter. Of course, we'll get Mew, but in my case, it's going to be level 7. That's because I did not growl 6 times to the last Pokemon I fought, which happened to be that guy's Shelter. If you want to get a level 100 Mew, which you might have seen before, if you growl 6 times, the Mew will become level 1, and at that point, you'll catch it and then gain a certain amount of EXP. From what I remember, it's 55, and if you get less than 55, it will instantly go to level 100. I recommend bringing a low-level Pokemon or a Pokemon with Leech Seed, as it'll make it a bit easier to catch Mew, because it's going to be rather difficult. See here, it takes me a few tries. Also, my Pichu about fainted, but eventually I caught the Mew, and all was nice. Now, let's go check on that police officer guy and see if he's still there. Huh, he vanished, which is an after effect of doing the Mew Glitch, apparently. Sometimes you can make NPCs disappear, because these actual glitch encounters, using the Mew Glitch, are treated like legendary encounters, and if you know, like the legendary birds, a sprite disappears after you fight them, which is the reason for that. This next trick can also be done before beating Misty, as it's required to have Misty unfought. Once again, we are going to teleport away of Abra and head to the Cerulean Gym, because this time we are going to be fighting Misty. The reason why we need to fight Misty is because she has this Starmie with a certain special stat will give us a pretty handy Pokemon this early in the game. If you want, you can growl at it multiple times, 6 if you want, although I don't believe the Pokemon we'll get is capable of going up to level 100 via leveling up. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Just finish up the battle here with Misty and then head back to the long range trainer on Route 24. I will say that it's going to be important to stock up on Pokeballs, because this Pokemon in particular can be kind of hard to catch at times. It's also important to have a tossable item in the 6th slot. In my case I have Potion, which I recommend you do as well, or something like Rare Candy or Nugget. It's really up to you, honestly. Notice the game kind of paused there for a second, and that is because we're going to encounter Missingno, as you can see there. What's nice about Missingno is it will also add 128 to whatever item is in the 6th slot, regardless if it's a tossable item or not. But if it's a key item, it's a bit more tricky to get rid of when you have multiple of those, so make sure it's not a key item at the very least. So with Missingno, we can actually multiply our items once, but what's nice is if you use those items in there, especially if it's like something like Potion, you can use them up and get it to 127. And then if you catch Missingno, it will go nicely to 255, which I highly recommend because that will allow you to do more glitches in the game. This is the part where I try to catch Missingno, and I'm gonna cut it because it takes a while. As you'll see there, I'll finally have success. Missingno was caught, and the Pokédex will update, and something interesting will happen, so let's take a listen. That'll be enough of that, and you'll notice here that Missingno will turn into a Rhydon upon catching it. Which isn't a big deal, it's just because Missingno has a Pokédex number of 000, so when the game saw it, it was like, what the hell is this, and made it into a Rhydon. That's because Rhydon's technically the first Pokemon ever created, and its index number in this game is 1, and since that's the first thing the game knows, that's why it made it a Rhydon. Anyway, you'll see here that I have a stack of 255 potions, which is fantastic because stacks of 255 tossable item is very helpful in this game. I'll link some helpful videos in the description down below showing you how to use those. Anyway, it's time for the next tip. This next tip, how to evolve any Pokemon via stone without their respective stone, going to be using Clefairy and Exeggutor here. Clefairy, you'll see, is very close to leveling up. The Exeggutor isn't really too special besides what it corresponds to. In this case, it's going to be the Moonstone. So I'm going to go fight a trainer. It's usually the preferred method to use a trainer. What we need to do here is to send out our lead Pokemon that we want to evolve. Best if it's the lead Pokemon. Have it gain EXP to level up. This works out nicely. I can just switch to Exeggutor and demolish the Cubone with a Solar Beam. So we'll do just that, and we'll gain a level after this. At this point, all we really need to do is just finish up the battle with our Stone Pokemon, I'll call it. So in this case, the Exeggutor. Have that Pokemon finish the battle. So I'm going to take out this guy's Slowpoke, and we'll see what happens after this. Oh no, my Pokemon got some money, and what? Clefairy's evolving. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't evolve via level up. But yes, the reason why that worked is because that Exeggutor corresponds to the Moonstone. And for whatever reason in the game, when you finish a battle with that Pokemon that corresponds to the stone, and that Pokemon you want to evolve gains a level, it will evolve after the battle. I'll put in the description the Pokemon that correspond to what stones, and I'll also put in the description like the big hex list so you can see that it matches up if you want. Anyway, that's all for this trick, so let's see another one. For this tip, you're going to need a couple things. To start off, 9F, a Rivals Effect item, ETE. It can actually be any Rivals Effect item. You saw there, the Pokeflute, and a method of catching Pokemon, preferably the Master Ball. Then you're going to encounter a wild battle. It does not matter what the Pokemon is. You are then going to use 9F. Some weird stuff is going to happen. What you're going to do is open your start menu, go back in there and catch the Pokemon. Because using 9F will actually make us escape from the battle, but then throwing a Master Ball will catch the Pokemon that we originally encountered. However, we'll still be in a weird limbo state where the game kind of thinks that we're in a battle. At this point, I recommend opening your start menu a couple times, eventually to the point where it'll be kind of obvious that you're in the overworld but not quite. And then walk back through a warp. Once you go through a warp, it will fix your map. At this point, walk to any battle you want. It does not matter what type of battle it is. However, I recommend it's on the more difficult side. You'll find this tip/glitch a little more useful that way. I'm going to show off how to use the Rivals Effect item, ETE. If I face away from a wall, I can actually walk through walls. As long as I'm not facing a wall while using it, I can actually walk through said wall. Like in this case, for example, I'll have my back face towards the wall. I'll use ETE and walk backwards through the wall. And just like that, we cut through there and we get to Sabrina quickly. Yes, we get it. Let's go already. So, you know, maybe you don't feel like fighting a gym leader. You don't want to deal with that. So I'm just going to kind of throw out my Pokemon here. Check out my item bag. And I'm going to use the Pokeflute because, you know, why not? Which is actually what you want to do. Use an item. And it will instantly end the battle. It is called the Instant Victory Glitch for that reason. And so, you know, we'll get our little TM and little spiel after beating, quotations beating, because we didn't actually fight. And you'll see here that I still get the badge for it, even though we didn't really do much of a battle there. So that's pretty neat. Once again, I'll show you how to get out of here using a Rivals Effect item. You don't have to, you could use the normal warp. But it's nice to have a flyer, because in this case anyway, I'll have to use that to get away. And just like that, we'll wrap up this tip. And it'll actually take us nicely to the next tip. So for this next tip, we're going to make our way to the Cinnabar Island Gym. I don't have the secret key currently, so I'll show you how to bypass that, once again, using a Rivals Effect item. So here, ETE, just activate it, walk into the wall. From the way I'm facing, I'm not able to go in, so I have to deactivate it and then walk in. The way you deactivate it is by viewing your Pokemon menu, Pokemon Party. I'm sure you can use any of the options in there, but that's just the one I use. And something that came up, I believe, in Let's Glitch Pokemon Yellow, all these doors were actually locked when I came in here early, so that's kind of interesting. And for some reason in Blue, and I believe Red as well, they are all gone when you come in here early, which is kind of nice. Another thing, we are in Blaine's Fallout shelter for the Pokepocalypse. Someone told me. You can get in there using a Rivals Effect item. Anyway, we're going to talk to Blaine and start the next little thing. For the actual tip, I'm going to show you. So let's see it. So for this tip, the one thing you're really going to need is a Pokemon with Fly or Dig. Two biggest things I can think of. And make sure they're paralyzed. What you want to do is just spam that move, basically a 2-turn move that involves being invulnerable during that time. And what you want to do is get fully paralyzed, just like that. So from this point forward, Fearow will never get hit by a move again. However, there are some exceptions. Moves like Swift will still hit, Transform, and possibly the unleashed damage from Bide. And at this point, the game kind of glitched out to where it's like we're in limbo state, where we're still flying, but not quite. So the opponent won't be able to strike your Pokemon for the remainder of the battle. Unless the move's Fly or Dig is successfully completed, however. Now there should be a point here. It may not happen just now. I might make a speed up here because this will take a little bit of time. We're gonna sweep Blaine's team here. I believe it's this next Pokemon of his where we see another bonus effect that I'll talk about. Not quite yet. There it is. Blaine just used the Super Potion despite Ponyta having full health, and he successfully used it. It consumed his turn, which is really, really silly. It's another little minor glitch with Blaine's AI where he just randomly uses a healing item despite the Pokemon not needing it, and it still consumes the turn. It's really, really strange, honestly. And I believe he does it even again, like right here. Oh, I guess not quite yet. I'm sure it happens one more time. Ah, there it is. So that's a really silly thing. But notice how that my Fearow has not gotten hit once since it got fully paralyzed while flying. So yeah, once again, this is the Invulnerability Glitch. So as you might guess, you get better utility out of this glitch by doing it against like a gym leader, a long battle like a glitch trainer for example, or even the Elite Four. Huh, it's pretty neat that Roar doesn't even work either. Anyway, this is about all for this glitch, so I'm gonna wrap this battle up with Blaine, make a brief cut to me going through the gym basically, and I'll meet you towards the very beginning of the gym. Once again, I'll show off the luxury of having a Rivals Effect item. They're just so dang handy. And thanks to that, this can happen. When we leave, they'll tell us the door is locked, even though we just came out of it. But yeah, that's all I have for this tip, so let's move on to another one. For the final one, I'm going to be showing a glitch that pretty much everyone and their brother knows, the Old Man Glitch. Something neat about this is that I am using a name that I created myself after already starting the file. There's a video I'll put in the description showing you how to change your name after starting it. Also put a video in there covering the Old Man Glitch in better detail, as I'm not going to go super in detail now. Essentially what we just need to do is watch the Old Man catch a Pokemon in his demonstration, because that will actually nickname us temporarily as Old Man. I assume because he's taking our side in the battle. Anyway, at this point you just want to fly directly to Cinnabar Island or another town. It's best to avoid routes, as that might overwrite the data that you have put in using this glitch. We'll go to Cinnabar Island directly because there are some shore tiles there we can use that will allow us to encounter Pokemon not based on the encounter list, but based on our name. Because once we go into there, we'll actually use our name opposed to Old Man. And based on our name, we'll get certain encounters. So you'll see a couple of these. This is another part where I had to speed up multiple times because the game wasn't being very nice and I wasn't encountering anything. So our first one, we'll get Missingno, level 127. I believe that's just a product of having no name, because I actually had no name before this. And so there was a character that was blank, and that gave me the Missingno at that level. Sometimes you'll find M's where they will have either be at level 0 or 80. Here it is where I can't get a Pokemon for a while. Once again, I get Missingno at level 127. Start to get impatient because it took forever for stuff to start going up. Here's our first Pokemon I got, which is Charmander. There's a pretty nice selection of Pokemon you can get from doing this. One that I recommend is getting the starters. if you don't want to bother with doing any glitches to get those. Once you figure out how to do most of the glitches in the game, it's pretty easy. But if you don't want to get too involved in that, you can get the starters this way, at a high level. And if you have rare candies, if you evolve the Pokemon at this point by EXP, you'll run into an issue where it will level up once, go to level 100, and will not level up again. So in this case, I would get stuck with the stage 2, or the second phase, however you want to say it. Ever since the Pokemon trading card game came out, always weird talking about stage 2, because stage 2 is like the third stage. For me, stage 1, basic. Stage 2 is stage 1, and then stage 3 for me would be stage 2 in the card game. Anyway, that's besides the point. We're going to catch Bulbasaur here. So if I want to get Venusaur from this Bulbasaur, or Charizard from that Charmander, I would recommend giving it 1 level via rare candy. And then at that point, take it into battle with EXP, and then it will go to level 100, but also evolve. Or you could just keep giving it rare candies at that point. But whenever a Pokemon is over level 100 in Generation 1, whenever it gains some EXP, it will go back down to level 100. Some other cool things you can get from either changing your name or having a specific name from the start is Mewtwo, like some of the legendaries, I believe. At least Mewtwo, I know that. There's a couple other options like fossil Pokemon, Pokemon that are hard to get, like ones that normally like maybe Safari Zone, which I should mention now, technically you can use this trick to get Safari Zone Pokemon, at the very least in Zone 1. I'm sure there's a way to make it where you get Pokemon from the other zones, but all you would do is make that the last place you went before you come here. And since Fuchsia is technically a city or a town, whatever, you can come straight from there to here, and it will keep the data from the route of Safari Zone, Zone 1. So that's pretty nice. So a more comprehensive list of Pokemon. You can get Mewtwo, you can get Snorlax, Porygon, Aerodactyl, different version exclusives. Of course the starters, the final evolutions of most of the starters. Many forms of Missingno, stuff like that. It's pretty useful. Hopefully any minute we'll get the Pokemon we need. I don't want this dragging on for too much longer. I hope by this point you guys get the point. You can get some pretty cool Pokemon from doing this over level 100, and there it is, Squirtle 128. That is the final Pokemon I wanted to show. And so that's going to conclude this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. I really enjoy making this series, and be sure to rate it well if you guys enjoy it too. I really like to make it. I'd be more inclined to if you guys enjoy it as well. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.